I know I may offend 1911 stands out there when saying this, but the Walther PP is the first truly modern semi-auto pistol. Welcome to the Milsurf Mike channel. What are some of the attributes of a truly modern pistol? For me, you have to be able to carry it without needing to manipulate anything to fire, meaning double action, single action unity cock is a must for a hammer fire pistol. You need to be able to reload the firearm quickly, which means a well-placed magazine release. You don't have to take your pistol off the target. This means no heel release. It also needs to have a simple, toolless takedown for easy cleaning. Of course, it needs to have trusted reliability. The first pistol produced on a massive scale that met all these requirements is the Walther Police Pistole, or the police pistol. While I covered the Walther company up to the 1920s in my Model 4 and 8 videos, a new book published since the release of those videos by Front Sight Publishing called Fateful Years, Karl Walther, the world-famous Thuringian arms factory, 1886 to 1945, by Wolf-Dietrich and Roth, has not only provided more insight to the people in the company, it has rendered a few statements in my previous videos inaccurate. At the age of 26, Karl Walther found the company in 1886 in an inherited house with an attached workshop in Zella St. Blasi. He began by making high-quality target hunting rifles based off the Martini and later Ayat actions. He married Minute Georgie Pickert, daughter of revolver maker Christian Pickert, and they would have 5 sons: Fritz, Georg, Willi, Alfred, Erich, and Karl Lothar. The elder 3 would apprentice in firearms, while Erich would complete a commercial apprenticeship and Karl Lothar a toolmaker apprenticeship. The house would expand with a 1-story addition to the workshop in 1902 and continued to expand to a 3-story factory with a diesel power plant by 1912. Karl would have several patents on rifles and would see moderate success, with his constant motto being, "Do everything so well it can't be surpassed by none." After eldest son Fritz completed his apprenticeship as a gunsmith in 1906, he would work for 2 years at Ludwig Loewe in Berlin and would see a future in autoloading pistols. Although young, he would push his father to have the company develop their own semi-auto loading pistols, showing a decisive hustle that would push Walther into a firearms producing powerhouse. They would develop 2 pistols, the 32 ACP Venus Pistole, which is based off the Dreiser 1907 and FN 1900, and the 25 ACP Svoltus Pistole model 1909, something I'm going to put across the screen there, which would retroactively be dubbed the Model 1 after the release of the Model 2. The Venus pistol never made it far past prototype stage, while the Model 1 would see moderate success. Fritz and Karl would develop 2 more pistols, again one in 25 ACP, the other in 32 ACP. While the Model 1 was regarded as a great pistol for the price, it undercut everyone except for the cheaply made Spanish pistols, it had a complicated takedown and many small parts. The Models 2 and 3 would simplify this by going from striker fire to an internal hammer, and the spring would be moved from a plunger beneath the barrel to just surrounding a fixed barrel and held in by a bushing. With police contracts in mind, they would extend the barrel and the bushing of the Model 3, which would become the Model 4. This is the pistol that put Walther on the map. This leads us to the First World War, where Weapons Examination Commission would order 250,000 Model 4s for secondary frontline pistols. This era would be a whirlwind time for the company as well as the Walthers themselves. The company would begin building a new factory as Karl foresaw this future possibility and slowly purchased land for this purpose over the years. Around the time of the first occupation of the new factory, Karl would die of a serious illness on July 9, 1915. 2 of Fritz's younger brothers, Georg and Willi, were in the German army. Willi would be killed in the Battle of Lodz. Shortly after Karl's death, Fritz and Erich would be granted power of attorney, and in February 1916 the company would officially pass to Karl's 4 surviving sons, with Fritz, Georg, and Erich authorized to represent the company. Although young, they were very capable. Fritz took over the overall management, Georg became the general manager, and Erich would lead the commercial department. Fritz is well respected and held in high regard by employees. He would always choose the best employees when it came to talent and work ethic, and this is what he would judge people by. It was said he cared very little about their political views. Later on, he would insist German employees treated foreign laborers as members and employees of the company and not as prisoners. While Fritz was an avid hunter, Georg was an expert sports shooter, which would help in later designing the Model 8, as well as the German Olympic target pistols. While even-tempered in interpersonal relationships and employees, he would butt heads with Fritz, and Fritz would usually get the last word. Erich had completed a commercial apprenticeship and was a good businessman. He was generally reserved compared to his two older brothers. Youngest son Lothar would kind of get the shaft into the whole deal, which would create a distance between him and his brothers. Under their urging, he would be declared of age in 1915 and pushed to leave the company as partner and heir in 1920. He would receive financial compensation, made worthless by Weimar inflation, and the original house/factory building. He wanted to spend some time studying in the U.S., but his brothers would change the itinerary at the last minute and send him to Argentina, where he would work as an automobile mechanic and in the oil fields. Upon his return, he would work in the energy center of the Walther factory, then open his own business in the old factory making tools and barrels, the latter of which would make him a subcontractor to Walther for PP and PPK pistols. As Walther cranked out Model 4 pistols during the war, they attempted a 9mm pistol which would become the Model 6. But 9mm and simple blowback do not go well together, and this would be generally considered a failure. The Models 5 and 7 were a couple updated 25 ACP pistols, and the Model 7 would become a favorite of German general staff late in the war. The end of the war would bring the great general German neutering by the Treaty of Versailles. Walther would be forced to survive by making optics and counting machines which would eventually become mechanical calculators, while the treaty forced a stoppage of the arms factory for a few months in 1919 and 1920. It was lucky for Walther the Model 6 was a failure, as this meant that none of their pistols were tied to a larger caliber military pistol. The Allies would allow Walther to start producing the Models 4, 5, and 7 again in 1920. Georg would make improvements using his background in competition shooting to come out with the Model 8. A side note, that last statement contradicts what I said in the Model 8 video, as I said Fritz developed it. In this new book by Roth that I mentioned earlier, this has shed some more light on these details. While the Model 8 was released in 1920, production didn't fully ramp up until 1922. Fritz would make the Model 9, which was basically an update of the Models 5 and 7. Since the Model 4 sold so well, they did not attempt to make a 32 ACP version of the Model 8, instead opting to develop a brand new, and what I would consider the first modern pistol, eventually called the Polizei Pistole, or more commonly, the Walther PP. While the PP would retain the easy takedown and fixed barrel encased by the mainspring of the Model 8, much about the new pistol departed from gradual evolution as was seen on the Models 1 through 9. The most notable feature is the double-action, single-action trigger. Pulling the trigger both cocks the hammer and fires the pistol, with the slide cocking the hammer for the next shot, leaving a lighter single-action pull. The exposed hammer, another departure from Walther pistols, can also be manually cocked for a light single-action trigger. Up until this time, double action was found only on revolvers, while most autoloaders were single action only. The heavy double action trigger on revolvers served as a safety mechanism, while single action semi-autos had to be carried with the safety engaged or an empty chamber. Czech gun designer Alice Tomiska and Russian Sergei Korovin both patented double action trigger systems for autoloading pistols prior to World War I, with Tomiska's patent granted in 1908. He would begin production on the Little Tom, a 25 ACP pocket pistol in 1913. The Great War would halt chances of widespread popularity, and he would sell the rights to his gun to Vienna's Weimar Waffenfabrik in 1918. By 1920, production was underway on both 25 and 32 ACP versions. While mildly successful, there were durability questions. Still, this would catch Fritz Walther's attention, and he would approach Tomiska in 1922 seeking to market his pistols incorporating his patents. After buying the rights, Fritz would work on his own pistol, combining his and Tomiska's ideas, which he would mass produce with Walther's impeccable quality. Along with combining the double-action single-action with features found on earlier Walther pistols that I already mentioned, Fritz and Walther's designers would make a safety into the decocker, and the magazine release would be placed where God intended, behind the trigger guard. Also added was a loaded chamber indicator. Alright, let's take a little closer look at my Walther PP. Now, I have its closest ancestor when it comes to development from Walther in the Model 8. The PP kind of stopped the slow evolution that Walther was going through, and basically hit on a really good pistol with the first single action, double action in the PP. Now, one thing the PP did retain from the Model 8 was the easy takedown. I'm going to show she's unloaded here before I do this. So all you got to do on the Model 8 to take it down is you got this little button here, pull your trigger guard down, slide back and up. You got your spring around the fixed barrel, and you are field stripped on this Model 8. And that's something the Walther PP retained. Now you notice we got an internal hammer here, and the PP is single action only, so it has to be cocked before it fires. If you held it in the holster, you definitely want it on safe. You definitely wouldn't want it in chambered in fire position. Now the Walther PP, the one thing that made this the first modern pistol in my mind is the double action, single action, because you notice it has the external hammer right here, and that helps facilitate the double action and single action. Also, mine, before I take it apart, I'm just going to show that this is a late war, and this is actually what some people call kind of a lunchbox special. Basically, as the American troops occupied the Walther factory, Walther employees would kind of put them together for American troops, for maybe in exchange for food or other items American troops may have, because they were more or less working as slave labor at this point. But like good sign of these lunchbox specials is the serial numbers are fairly close. They're not matching, but they're fairly close. A sign of a late war Walther. Also, you don't have the banner on the left side, and on the right side you have the AC, which is the code for the Walther factory. Some of the late pistols also lost things like the loaded chamber indicator, and this one apparently I don't think it actually decocks. So I'll demonstrate the decocker here on the I have a modern Walther PPS here. Take the safety off, and when you put it in safe, it actually decocks it. So let's field strip this real quick. As with now you notice the magazine release is where God intended, right behind the trigger guard. But as with the Model 8, now you don't have the little button here, so you just got to pull your trigger guard down, pull your slide back, up, forward, and for cleaning purposes, you are field stripped here. I'm going to go ahead and take the grips off so we can look inside real quick. I just kind of want to show the lifter that makes the single action, double action possible. And so you notice she's in single action now with the hammer cocked. I'm going to go ahead and just pull the trigger here to demonstrate this. And I want you to pay attention here to this lifter right here. Watch as I pull that back. So pistols prior to this, with the exception of the Little Tom, you would have to have the pistol cocked before you pulled the trigger. But so pull the lifter up, pull that back. So let's go ahead and put this thing back together real quick. Might help if I put the hand guards on the correct side. Okay, we are back to field strips for intents and purposes. Go ahead and put our spring back around this barrel. Now, I actually bought some kit of Wolf springs. I'm probably going to replace that to help this become a little more reliable. But we got to pull our trigger guard down again. Just put our barrel back in the slide. Well, I guess we need our hammer cocked. So function checker, and let's put our mag back in, and we're all back together. Now, if you like what you've seen so far, learned something, please drop a like below. Otherwise, please stay and let's learn some more history. The pistol will be finally unveiled in 1929, and pistols were available before it actually had a name. Originally, Walther was going to just call it the Model 10, but someone within the company came up with calling it the Model PP for Police Pistole, or police pistol. This was a boon for marketing, as the PP would become the quintessential European police pistol, as the PP was intended to replace the Model 4 in Walther's lineup. While a vast majority of the pistols are produced in 32 ACP, 380 ACP and 22 long rifle models also saw sales success. Early on, Walther would make a limited run of 25 ACP PP pistols to see if they would sell, but shooters complained about such a small round coming from a larger frame. They would also make some 9mm prototypes, but as with the Model 6, the round was too powerful for this action and frame. All steel pistols would be $38, or around $700 in today's money, with an alloyed frame version costing $9 more. The alloyed frame models are proof marked with a crown over end pre-war and an eagle over end during the war. Pistols with an end proof bring a bit of a higher premium on the collector's market. They'd be offered with mostly black checkered plastic grips, although white, reddish brown, and wooden grips would be offered. Some late war pistols would have cheap wood with checkering due to its plastic becoming scarce. Magazines would be offered flush or with a plastic finger rest. There was a third type discontinued early on that is what the kids nowadays call the Extendo Mag. Originally the PP had a 90-degree safety, but Georg Walther would encourage a change to the 60-degree safety in the mid-1930s. The PP, as well as the PPK, would be adopted by police and official government forces all over Europe in the 1930s, and it came damn close to beating out the Beretta 1934 as the official sidearm of the Italian military. Prior to the war, it was also a favor of the Nazi Party, replacing the Mauser 1910 and 1914 pistols in their eyes. During the war, the PP would find favor with the Wehrmacht, while the Luftwaffe favored the PPK. As the war went on, deep bluing would change to rougher and thinner blue, and later war pistols would see things like the loaded chamber indicator go away. Even though they were rougher, the late war pistols were still pretty sound. In today's market, some late pistols can be found that have a close, but not mentioning serial numbers and lacking proof marks. Many of these are bringbacks by American soldiers who would trade goods with factory employees to have them put together from parts. Some of these have been dubbed lunchbox specials. Many in the Walther family would flee Zella-Metlis prior to the Soviet occupation of the area and would settle in Ulm. Fritz had all the drawings and retained the patents to the PP and would license Mandarin, located in Mulhouse, France, which is just an hour drive across the border, to manufacture the PP in 32, 380, and 22 long rifle. These would have a very good reputation for quality. Fritz, Georg, and Erich would keep the Walther company alive by producing calculators post-war. Eventually, Fritz would be allowed to produce firearms again, and he would start with the new Karl Walther company, while Georg and Erich ran the calculator company. By the 1960s, parts produced by Mandarin would be sent to Ulm to be blued and assembled. A favorite of police forces throughout Europe, the beginning of the end of official use would start in the 1970s. Spurred by the terrorist attack against Israeli athletes in the 1972 Munich Olympic Games, where police felt very undergunned with the single-stack 32 ACP pistol. Civilian sales, though, keep it in production to this day. There were unauthorized copies made by the East Germans in Suhl and by FEG in Hungary, while many other pistols took inspiration from the PP, including the Makarov and the CZ50s and 70s. Of course, I've only touched on the PPK and PPKS, which will get a separate video sometime in the future. My vintage pistol is one of the previous talked about lunchbox specials, so the fit and finish is definitely lacking. The double action trigger sometimes misfires, while it seems to do alright in single action. I've ordered a Wolf Springs kit for the pistol in hopes of making it function better. While I might get a better vintage example at some point, this is still a nice pistol to have in my Walther collection, which if you want to learn more about, please click over here. Have I missed anything? Do you want to learn about something next? Please let me know in the comments. Please join the GOA, get $5 off your membership with the link in the description. Thank you for watching, and as always, have a great day.